Due to the recent introduction of Prismatic, it is once again possible to solo Queenswalk. In fact, it's arguably the easiest it's ever been. This is because using your Transcendence makes you drop the heart. You can then cancel your Transcendence cast to keep your Transcendence while also dropping the heart. Right now, there are two main methods to infinitely transcend cancel, one on Hunter and one on Titan. As far as I know, there are no ways to infinitely transcend cancel on Warlock, which is very unfortunate. However, all classes, including Warlocks, can transcend cancel once by casting Transcendence, then immediately casting their super. You can then use your Transcendence itself, which will let you drop the heart once again, but it will consume your Transcendence if you do not do an animation to cancel the Transcendence. This will let you drop the heart twice, which allows for far greater distance. This means if you're on a Warlock, this could be very useful for, say, trioing Queenswalk if you're doing Trio Last Wish, but it's not enough to solo Queenswalk. For that, you will need to be able to infinitely transcend cancel. As I said earlier, there is one method on Hunter and one method on Titan. The most annoying part of this challenge is getting your Transcendence, so I'll go over that first. I'll then go over the Hunter method, then the Titan method. I included timestamps in the description, so feel free to skip around as needed. Side note, this is not directly related to soloing, but getting the CP for Queenswalk is super inconsistent and does not typically save from just a wipe, at least if the instance itself is from a checkpoint. At least that's how it was in my experience. However, I believe I found a consistent way to save it if you're having trouble with this. Basically, just whoever has the CP needs to load up Last Wish with you in the fire team. They should switch characters when both of your ships break the atmosphere, and this will leave you alone in the instance. You should spawn at outside, like where you start the actual rivet encounter, and you have to run into the heart. If you do that, grab the heart and then wipe, it should give you the checkpoint. I'm not really sure why this encounter doesn't always give the checkpoint from a wipe, but hopefully, if you're having problems, this works for you. Anyways, the easiest way to get your Transcendence is to spam click fire as you're about to get teleported. You want to grab the heart and run all the way up to the mouth, or you can drop down depending on how much time you have, but you just want to spam click fire as you're about to get teleported. If you time it right, this will fire your weapon before you teleport into the heart and will give you large amounts of prismatic energy. I highly recommend Galley for light and Winterbright for dark. You can get up to half your light or dark energy respectively if you fire in the right area. On Titan, both of these weapons are very consistent. You don't need any dexterity mods for Galley, but you will need a few for Winterbright. But other than that, it's really consistent and you can very easily pull it off. For Hunter, this method is far less consistent. It is possible, I've done it a couple times, but I believe the Hunter melee prevents you from consistently canceling the draw animation. If you look at this comparison, Titan melees constantly blink red, whereas Hunter melees were very sporadic. None of the Hunter melees I tried worked. I ran it with tons of dexterity, super handling. I did this exact same thing I did in Titan, and it would still not work, so I think it's tied to the Hunter melee. What I had to do instead, and it was pretty consistent, is I used the Threaded Spike melee in Galley. I would spam fire as I was getting teleported, which despite not being my melee button, it would throw the Threaded Spike instead of shoot my Galley. This would give me a large amount of darkness energy, sometimes almost half, and as soon as I was teleported, I would listen for the acid spawn and fire at that direction. This would give me a small amount of energy towards light, and it was really slow, but I did it in under one rally banner. I only needed like 7 or 8 shots, so if you rally with reserves, it's only 1 banner's worth of rockets. It's just a lot of wiping. So now that you know how to get your Prismatic, I'll explain the Hunter method. Essentially, using Acrobat's dodge immediately after casting Prismatic will drop the heart and let you keep your Prismatic. In the simplest terms, to solo Queenswalk, you pop Prismatic, then immediately dodge, you'll kill some adds, then you'll grab the heart over and over and over until you make it to the bank. That's all you need to know, and once you get that down, you can technically do it right away. However, I do have some loadout choices I recommend to make this very easy and just super consistent. Starting off with super, I recommend using Silence and Squall or Deadfall. It really doesn't matter which one you run, either or can work. I mean, you can really run any super. I just found Silence and Squall to be very useful in the lava room, but when I actually did my clear, I did it with Deadfall because I was trying to see if blinding the enemies could work well with Stylish Executioner to go invisible. But yeah, either can work, use whatever you want, doesn't matter that much. For your dodge, this is super important, you need Acrobat's dodge. Gamblers and Marksmen do not work. Acrobat's just the animation, it will take you out of your Transcendence animation and will let you keep your Transcendence while also dropping the heart. Jump obviously doesn't matter, I like triple jump for PvE, but you could get away with strafe jump. I don't recommend high jump or blink, but you could technically use them. For melee abilities, you 100% want Combination Blow, as it will regen your class ability energy on a kill. As I said earlier, you need to Acrobat's Dodge in order to cancel your Transcendent animation and keep your Transcendence. So it's really important that you have your dodge up as much as possible, and that's what we are going to try and spec into. So since Combination Blow lets us get a whole entire class ability on a kill, this is super important to run. Your grenade choice does not matter, but I liked Grapple the most just in case I needed to get back to the heart in time. If for some reason I was far away and I had my Eager Edge was already used. I should never be that far away, but just in the very off chance, I wanted to have Grapple for that. I also used it sometimes to get around the Phalanx's shield because it was consistently hitting them through the shield. So, really, use whatever you want. You could use Duskfield. I don't care. Use whatever you want. For aspects, Threaded Spectre and Stylish Executioner are what I believe the best two to be. You don't want to run Ascent, as it eats your class ability. That's not good. You're not going to be getting enough kills for Gunpowder Gamble, and you don't really need the slows unless you want to spec into the Stylish Executioner. But I liked having Threaded Spectre, as when I dodged, which I'm going to be doing often, it will leave it behind a decoy, which all the enemies would shoot at, which let me make my escape sometimes. It actually saved me in the run I did. It is the reason why I was able to complete it. Stylish Executioner, on the other hand, it's very nice to be able to go invisible whenever you defeat a slowed or just a weakened target. It's really nice just if you're running Tether especially, or Silence as Squall. Either of them are very, very strong and let you go invisible, which can be very, very helpful. Fragment-wise, it doesn't matter too much. I highly recommend Faucet of Protection, as you're always going to be surrounded by enemies, and so it will be very, very useful. I also use Faucet of Hope, as when you have an elemental buff, your class ability would regenerate more quickly. This is super useful if you have Aegers or some other way to get elemental buffs, but honestly, I didn't take advantage of it as much as I probably should have, as I kind of focus more on Strategist, but it can be very useful depending on what weapons you want to run. I also ran Faucet of Balance, just to kind of help me get my ability back, my melee ability. Not super important. It's just something I wanted just in case I needed my dodge back, because once again, Combination Blow gives you your whole class ability charge back. I also use Faucet of Blessing, as melee final blows start health regeneration. This is in case I did not have Combination Blow active, and I needed to get my health back. I could just melee a Thrall and get my health back. I didn't need to use it, but just in the off chance I did, I had it there. Finally, I used Faucet of Ruin, which increases the size and damage of the burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or a frozen target. This, honestly, I wasn't using Silence as Squall for my run, so it didn't matter that much. I was using for the plus 10 mobility, as you need 10 mobility in order to get your dodge back the fastest, but this one can kind of be switched in for whatever you want. It doesn't matter that much. Moving on to armor, this is actually pretty important. We are speccing into dodging as much as possible and getting our charge back as fast as possible. So we are going to use 6 Coyote for a second dodge charge, and now I'm going to go into all the mods. Okay, mod-wise, on your helmet, you're going to want to be running Siphons. Siphons are super important because we're going to be focusing on making orbs super potent in order to give us healing, regen, and damage resist. And so if you're doing that, you want to be making orbs as much as possible. If you're using Aegers, run a Siphon. You really want to be running a Siphon for whatever weapons you're using, basically, is my point. Just be able to make orbs. I also ran a special ammo finder, but that doesn't matter much. You should not be running out of special. On my gauntlets, this is pretty important. I ran a Bolstering Detonation and 2 Focusing Strikes. Bolstering Detonation grants class ability when you cause damage with a grenade, and Focusing Strike grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a powered melee attack. These let me get my class ability back way faster whenever I'm using any ability, and this kind of works with Combination Blow to give me over a full stack just in case, just to set me off better for the future. For my chest plate, I just ran Resists, Concussive, and Melee. You might want to run 2 Melee, but it's diminishing your turn, so I ran a Concussive. But it's really up to you. You can run whatever resist you want. You shouldn't need any other mods, though. For boots, you're going to want to run Stacks on Stacks, which picking up an orb grants 2 charges instead of just 1. Also, you want to run Recuperation, so whenever you pick up an orb, you'll get a large chunk of health. And then if you run Better Already with it, you'll get a large chunk of health from the Recuperation, and then start healing more, which can be very, very useful and actually saved me in my run. Finally, on your cloak, you're going to want to run double Utility Kickstart, or triple if you don't want to run a Resilience mod, but Utility Kickstart is super useful. It obviously gives you your class ability energy back when you dodge, if you have armor charges, and that kind of goes hand in hand with Stacks on Stacks. And so we kind of just want to have as many orbs as possible so we can get health back, regen, and then we can also get more energy when we dodge. So that's kind of the gist of the armor set. Also make sure you're running 10 mobility and 10 resilience. 10 mobility, you obviously want to get your dodge back as fast as humanly possible, and mobility is super important with that. You also walk faster with the heart, which is very nice. And then obviously for Azil, you want to be taking 30% less damage. That's just a no-brainer. One other thing to mention is if you have any Last Wish armor, you can socket the Taken Barrier mod into it for no cost, and it will give you 20% damage resist to Taken for like 15 seconds, I want to say. Super useful. I don't have any in my Hunter, but if I did, I would 100% run that. It would make it way easier. Weapon-wise, I ran the Call as it has Strategist. I don't care about Desperate Measures. It kind of helps a little bit, but not that much. But mainly I ran this because it has Strategist, and Strategist gives class ability energy on kills, and this kind of goes with the whole idea of getting your dodge back as fast as possible. However, I also would highly recommend Aegers, as if you're running the Faucet of Hope, Aegers will help you get your energy back. If you're running Faucet of Hope, you want to run Faucet of Purpose, especially if you're running Aegir Scepter, as you can use Aegers to quickly create a lot of orbs, and then picking up one of these orbs will grant you Frost Armor, and then Faucet of Hope makes it so that the Frost Armor will let you get your dodge back faster. So it all kind of works in the same loop, and if you use the armor mods that I talked about earlier, like Recuperation and Better Already, this will make your orbs very, very potent. You can kind of run whatever, just make sure you're going to have a strategist weapon or some way to get buffs, so you can get your class ability back faster. I didn't really use my secondary weapon. I had Forbearance on just in case I needed to clear a lot of ads, but mainly I was trying to kill the ads with the Call. That way I could get Strategist to proc and get me more class ability energy back. I also tried running a Sniper, didn't use it much. I was going to use it for the Phalanxes and Lava Room, but I did not find it to be that necessary. In your heavy slot, I'd highly recommend running a Slammer or another type of sword that has Eager Edge, so half Truths, other half, or Falling Guillotine. Eager Edge can let you get back to the heart really fast if for some reason you need to go up and melee a Thrall to get your class ability back from Combination Blow. It can let you get back to the heart really fast and just save you a couple of times. I didn't have a problem with it on Hunter. I never left the heart, but it can be very nice just to move forwards. But other than that, that's really it. It's pretty simple once you get down. The hardest part is just getting Transcendence. That's the worst part, getting the CP. That's really annoying. But once you do it, it probably only took me like 15 minutes of attempts, only like 4 or 5 attempts, actual real attempts. It's pretty easy, honestly. I think that anyone can do this if they play it smart and they just spend the time getting Transcendence and know how to infinitely transcend cancel. It's pretty satisfying. It's nice to have the solo tag on your raid report. I had a ton of fun doing it, but I will link my full clear on my Hunter in the description if you want to watch a full run. I won't have any like explanations as I'm doing it live, but yeah, if you want to see how to do it, it's going to be in the description down below. Titan is far harder than Hunter, but is still very manageable. Instead of canceling Transcendence with Acrobat's dodge, you need to cast Transcendence while you're picking up a Stasis Lance, then immediately slam it. You don't want to throw it, you want to make sure you slam it onto the ground. You want to run stasis weapons such as Aegers and either a Slammer or a stasis machine gun depending on how fast you are. You also need to walk fast with the heart, so you're going to want 10 mobility. Subclass wise, you really just need Diamond Lance, as that will let you do the whole prismatic canceling. But other than that, everything else is up to you. Super wise, doesn't matter what you run. I ran Thunder Crash just to nuke the enemies as soon as I got out of the mouth directly to the left. But you can run whatever you want. It does not matter. Titan is really just you need to be making stasis lances. You can run whatever grenade, whatever melee. I like Thunderclap as it did some good damage, but it's up to you. You can use whatever you want. Fragments are not super important, at least I didn't think so. Blessing can be nice as melee final blows start health regeneration, but it doesn't matter too much. Titan is very more skill-based rather than just having a good setup. I'd also recommend running Protection as you're always going to be surrounded, but once again, it's up to you. Run what you want. I'm not going to stop you. Armor-wise, I found ACDCO feedback fences to be pretty useful, as you could just destroy all the enemies around you if you had armor charges, and that could be very useful to save you. But you could run Lorelei, you could run One-Eyed Mask, you could run Dune Marchers, you can run really whatever exotic you think would be the most useful to help you survive, because Titan is about survival and creating Diamond Lances. Those are the two most important things you can do. Mod-wise, it does not really matter. I ran Emergency Reinforcement just to also help me survive, but Once again, doesn't matter that much. Use whatever for armor mod. It's not super strict. It's just about staying alive. Weapon-wise, I'd recommend running Aegers or Lost Signal. Lost Signal can be useful to just nuke a ton of adds in an area. It doesn't do too much damage, but if you have an auto-loading one, it can be pretty nice. Aegers will just let you easily create diamond lances, so Aegers is probably the better pick, but I ran Lost Signal so I could run Buried Bloodline for the Devour, because that helped me stay alive, obviously. But you could run Aegers and another weapon of your choice in the secondary slot. Heavy weapon wise, I would highly recommend running Quillam's Terminus, as it's a stasis machine gun and it lets you create diamond lances from far away really easily. But the Slammer can be very useful just for maneuverability, getting back to the heart fast when you have to create diamond lances further up. This is super important later on, and so I highly recommend having the Slammer as its stasis, but really any other Eager Edge sword will also work for this. Real quick, full disclosure, I've not beat Queenswalk solo on my Titan yet. I've done it duo where we're both Titans, so I know how to do the actual like infinite prismatic cancel, but I've not actually made it further than the lava room yet because I found about the hunter strategy, and you know, it's way easier. But I figured I'd include it because I know there's some Titan mains out there and you don't want to switch to hunter for this, and so I figured I'd try and just give it my best shot, see what loadouts I thought would work the best. But if you have any better loadouts, anything that I maybe have said wrong, please post it in the comments down below. I'll make sure to pin it so that I don't give you some false information. But yeah, I wanted to include it just in case, just to give some Titan mains the idea, just a general idea of how to do this method. Do keep in mind there are some stretches later on that are pretty tight and you don't have too much time to run up, make a stasis lance, and get back. So I'd recommend, if you're struggling on these parts, just watch multiple solo Titan videos just to get an idea of how each player does that part, that stretch of the encounter, and hopefully that'll give you an idea. Unfortunately, like I said, I've just not had the time to do a solo Titan run, so I don't have the footage, but it can be done, and I'm sure if you try enough, you will get it. But yeah, hopefully this video helped you out in one way or another. I know that the actual act of infinitely prismatic canceling is pretty simple, but hopefully the loadouts helped you a little bit. I know the Titan was less in-depth as a hunter, but hopefully you can find out the right loadouts. I didn't want to give some wrong information and have you run something that was just hindering your ability, so I decided to leave that one a little more loosey. I just want to include it just so you have it in the same spot as the hunter in case you're a Titan main and you want to try and do it on your own on your Titan. But if you want to get a really in-depth thing, there are other guys on YouTube for Titan that I highly recommend watching, but yeah, the actual act is super duper easy. But yeah, that's it. Please let me know if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback whatsoever. I really like to know. I want to improve my videos, so if you found anything wrong with it, if you found something you liked, let me know. I would really like to hear it. Let me know if this video helped you, and yeah, have a great day.